All right, guys, welcome to today's session. Today, we want to talk about translating cosine functions. Now, if you are given a function defined as y is equal to a cos b, open bracket, x minus h plus k, we know that the absolute value of a is the amplitude. A gives us the phase shift. If a is greater than 0, we shift to the right. If a is less than 0, we shift to the left. K gives us the vertical shift. K greater than 0, we shift upward. K less than 0, we shift downward. And the period for a cosine function is defined as 2 pi divided by b. Let's go take an example of a parent function. Let's say we have y is equal to 3 cos 2 theta. In some books, they might say cos 2x. All right, they might substitute the x, the theta for x. So for example, if we have here, then our amplitude is 3 and b is equal to 2. Therefore, our period for this function is 2 pi divided by 2, right? So our period becomes pi. Our period for the function becomes pi. So let's draw the graph for this function. Okay, so we know that our magnitude is 3. So it means the graph will rise all the way to plus 3 and minus 3. So minus 1, minus 2, and minus 3, right? So we'll have, if you have a graph sheet or a millimeter paper, then it will look like this. Because I don't have, I'm just doing this to make it easy for you to understand. So we know that with a sine graph, it starts from the highest point all the way down. Okay, so period is pi. So the middle would therefore become pi over 2. And this is pi over 4. Okay, so then the next one becomes pi over 2 plus 1 over 4, which should be 3 over 4 pi. Yeah, it should be. So this point should be 3 over 4 pi. Okay. All right, let's just put some points to help us sketch. So this goes like this, down like this. You have this in your millimeter paper. You don't need to do this. Okay. Okay, so with the cosine function, then what it means is that our first point will be from the maximum. So our first point will be from here. Then our next point will be to touch the 0 line. And at this point, we reach our minimum. We'll come back to 0, and then we'll end here. So our graph would therefore have this V-like shape. Okay, all right. So if you continue for another cycle, that's what you get. So this is how our graph will look like when it comes to y is equal to 3 cos 2 theta. Okay, this is just a quick revision before we add the remaining phase shifts. So let's go to the next page. Let's take this question. Now, when you look at this question, you would notice that we have added the horizontal shift and the vertical shift. This is 5. So our amplitude, 3. Our B here is 1 over 2. Our H is pi. Negative pi. Remember, it's negative pi because the function is defined here as a negative. So it's only a negative number that can change it into positive. Okay? It's only a negative number that can change it into positive. Okay, and our k is equal to -5, implying that we will shift downwards 5 times. So let's go find the period. The period, therefore, is 2 pi divided by p, is 2 pi divided by 1/2, which will end up giving you 4 pi. Okay, so it means for one cycle, we'll end up with 4 pi. And we'll have to move downwards 5 times. So let's go start from here. Like this. So our 0 is here. And let's put a 4 pi here. 4 pi here. Then the middle will be 2 pi. This place will be 3 pi. And this place will be pi. And let's go to the negative side. Why the negative side? The negative side because we have a negative shift. We have a negative shift of negative pi, right? A negative shift of pi. So we at least need negative pi. Maybe you can just add one more just for reference sake. Okay, so now our period is 4 pi, but we have a negative shift to the right. I'm sorry, a negative shift to the left of pi. So therefore, our graph will be between 4 pi minus pi. So 3 pi. So our graph will be between negative pi to 3 pi, which is the same as 4 pi. Okay. All right. And to -1, -2, -3, -4, -4, -5. Because the magnitude is 3. -6, -7, -8, -9. Okay, so now what it means is that we have to shift downwards 5 times, which from 0 to -5. So this becomes our new 0 point. This becomes our new 0 point, right? It has to come to this side as well. This becomes our new 0 point. And the graph will rise up by 3 because the magnitude is 3. So it means the graph will go up 3 and it will also come down by 3. So when we stand at -5, we go up 3, 1, 2, 3. Then we'll end up at -2. Right? If you're at -5 and you go up 3 times, you end up at -2. If you're at -5 and you come down 3 times, then you end up at -8. All right, so we have this. So now, there is a negative shift to the left from 0 to pi, implying that our graph will not be starting on the 0 axis. It will not start on y. Okay? It will not start on the y. It will not start on the y axis. It will move and start from here. Okay? And always remember that when it comes to a cosine function, we begin from the maximum. So it means our first point will be here. And our next point will be on 0. Will be on 0, which will come all the way to -5, because -5 now is our new 0. Right? And remember, we are coming like this. You have this point. If you have a good millimeter paper, you don't have to. Okay. All right. Then the next point to be here, which becomes a minimum drop point. And we'll come back to 0. And then we'll end on 3 pi. Remember, the graph is between -pi to 3 pi. So now let's join the point. Let's use a different color to join the point. Then write the blue will work. So now our graph will come like this, and end here. Okay, so if you continue, you would probably come like this if you continue. But we're not continuing, we're just drawing one cycle. Okay, so this is how your cosine graph will look like. Now, so where will be the maximum of the graph? Therefore, the maximum is at here and here, which is pi and 3 pi. Negative pi and 3 pi. Then the minimum will be at only positive pi. So minimum is at positive pi. Minimum is at positive pi. Do we have zeros? No, we don't have zeros. There are no zeros. All right. I hope this video helps you, and I'll see you again.